Hello friends, my name is Emile, and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic, this time taking a look at the 1964 Lotus Elan S2. This car was requested by Apex GT4, and of course, as you can see in the race modification, looks very stupid with this sort of purple and green and yellow wheels. If the game gives me an option to be silly, I'm going to do the stupid thing, and yeah, this is suitably mental. I really like it, although I'm sure all of you hate it. Anyways, the Elan could be an interesting one. Front-engined rear-wheel drive, 210 horsepower, only weighs 568 kilos. Does not weigh a lot, has more torque than power as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, not really a huge fan of these sort of, I guess you'd call these the first edition of the Elan. I do prefer the 90s one, although I know I'm in a huge minority with that one. But nevertheless, yeah, very interested to see how this car does. It's also extremely tiny, as you'll probably see when we go on track. Anyways, it is going to have 6 laps of the Motorsports Land track to the best it possibly can. Currently, there is a Suzuki called Spikes Peak Edition at a set time of 28.209, which the Elan is very unlikely to beat. But it will be interesting to see where the Elan falls on our leaderboard, whether good or bad. Yeah, it is tiny. Kind of reminds me of the key cars and just how sort of small this thing is on the screen. Tell you what, though, for a small car, this has got some. The acceleration on this is pretty phenomenal. I don't know if it's just like the perspective, or it just feels a lot quicker than the Mirage from last time. But yeah, this thing actually feels pretty quick. Feels really nippy. Is probably the best way to describe the Elan. Again, you know, it's not really looking anywhere near the top of our leaderboard. It's got the wrong drivetrain for starters. You know, it is rear-wheel drive, but you know, with the power and the very, very light nature of it, it could do pretty well. It really does have the potential to do rather well, in fact. Although, I'm actually really curious to see when we finally get the 90s Elan round here, you know, how it compares to this, because, I mean, you know, that is front-wheel drive, which, as we know around this course, does make it better, but I don't think the Elan S2 from the 90s has particularly amazing power statistics, so, and this, of course, weighs a lot less. 33.269 on our first flying lap, which is about on par with the Mirage from last time. It could go quicker. It is going to go quicker than that. You know, I'm sort of still getting a feel for the car, which, by the way, handles really nicely. It's very, very pinpoint, razor accurate, sharp. A little bit. You can kick the rear end out on it, no doubt, but you know, when you compare this to the MX-5, actually will be a really good comparison for this car. You know, the one we've had round, the lower powered of the two, the 209 horsepower one. You know, that is a pretty good comparison for this car, I guess. You know, they both have similar power figures. They probably both weigh around the same. I imagine the MX-5 is much heavier, admittedly, but yeah, I'd imagine they're relatively similar in that regard. Of course, it's beating that MX-5. Whether it can beat the VS, though, I think the VS is like hanging around a 32.7, I want to say. A little bit of understeer on that final corner. Could do with having a look, see if I can tame any of that out of it. Going on to the final lap to try and get a good run. Oh, am I going to spit? I've spun the Elan. Alright, that's an interesting. I'm just trying to work out what that thing on the back is. It looks like a reflector. That sort of thing next to the lights. Not that I know where the exhaust is, and the exhaust is suitably dumb. But yeah. Yeah, alright. Guess it's all down to the final lap then. I mean, 3.269. A pretty good time for the Elan. You know, it can take its head home and be happy with that, but I'm sure it'll want a little bit more. So we will try to moderate the understeer through there. Hopefully get a bit of a quicker run onto the final lap. Here we go. Let's see what we can do with the mighty, mighty Lotus Elan. Come on. Come on, little Ethereal Elan. Stick it in a higher gear apparently seems to work a bit better. Cheeky corner cut. Which apparently, I will say that's the one thing with this car. It really can cut the corners quite nicely. It's got a lovely bit of ground clearance and so on. There we go. That's much better through there. A 32.503. For the Lotus Elan. That's really not a bad time. That's fairly average, which is pretty good, actually, considering, you know, rear-wheel drive and stuff. yeah, pretty cool car to drive. Liked it. I did like driving the Elan. It's quite a fun little thing to chuck around. Not really much more time can come off it. You really won't be able to go much quicker. But nevertheless, not a bad showing. Let's go see where it places on our leaderboard. Onto the leaderboard then, and the Lotus Elan S2 goes into 54th place with a 32.503, beating out the TVR Chimera, Mercedes-Benz 160, Toyota Altaza, interestingly enough, the Mazda MX-5, losing out slightly to the Nissan Almera, Toyota Supra, and the Spoon Civic Type. Oh, not a bad showing for the little Elan. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Hot Lap Classic. If you have cars you'd like to request for this series, you can do so in the comment section and go into the description for a full request list form. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a farewell.